Okay, I've finished watching episode 8 of the first season of the Fallout show. I would say it's an okay finale. Ironically, it's called The Beginning, and that alludes to, you could say, a new beginning for the three main characters. Definitely a lot of things unveiled in this episode. I would say it kind of doesn't drop the ball, but it definitely fumbles the ball. The worst scene, that meeting, that round table meeting in that Dr. Strangelove style boardroom. Barb and Bud apparently being super high up in Vault-Tec. I thought they'd just been mostly middle managers, but I guess they are high enough that they can meet with the heads of 4 other tech companies: Robco, Big MT, West Tech, and Repcon. I know Robco is a reference to the New Vegas game, that character. Just that whole scene. Vault-Tec really is comically evil. It's just too over the top. According to Barb, they're the ones who dropped the bomb. That whole scene is kind of lame. And the big reveals that happen in this episode, I saw them coming, not episodes away, but I saw them coming minutes before the big reveal. In that scene when Cooper meets with the secretary at Vault-Tec and she tells him that Henry is his biggest fan. At that point, I realized that Hank is a nickname for Henry. And so the person who's called their home in that prior episode is actually Lucy's father. Later in the episode, that big reveal of the ghoul, that feral or barely alive ghoul at Moldaver's dining table, I suspected that had been Lucy's mother before it was painfully obvious that she was Lucy's mother. The intended jaw-dropping moments didn't really hit for me because I saw them coming. Betty mentioning that she and Hank had buried Lucy's mother, I think that had been a red herring. Actually, in hindsight, maybe they did bury her and Moldaver just dug her up. It sounds morbid to think about. My suspicion that the Vault 31 people had not actually been from Vault 31 is kind of true. They've been preserved from over 200 years prior, and the Overseer of 31 is Bud's brain. He's more important than I had initially thought, but his introduction does set him up to be an important figure in this universe. Norm's got an interesting fate. He seems to be trapped in Vault 31. He's got no choice but to step into his dad's pod until someone comes and rescues him. So Betty, Steph, they're probably also from the before time. And the episode ends with Cooper demanding to know from Henry, Hank, where his family is located. Some intrigue. Barb and the daughter, whose name I forget, are still alive. But the prologue ends with Cooper carrying his daughter Janie away. So in theory, wouldn't he know where she is? They must have gotten splitting up at some point. Moldaver is kind of a MacGuffin. I mean, she does restore power to Shady Sands, but she dies. Apparently she had been involved with Lucy's mother. Semi-lesbian relationship. I recognize the actor or actress from her appearances on the Homeland TV show. She only had a few appearances, but her character was pretty memorable. Maximus, his arc is interesting, goes from being whipping boy to the hero of the order. Upon my second viewing, I realized that his buddy is the one who had placed the razor blade in their boot, self-sabotage, and they hadn't expected Maximus to take the blame, but they'd saved him from execution. I don't really like the Elder so much, but his begrudging admiration for Maximus makes sense. Interesting setup for the next season. Maximus seems to be the leader of the brawn of the Brotherhood of Steel. Will he be able to steer them away from their super aggressive approach? Lucy's teaming up with the ghoul makes sense. They're both going after Vault-Tec. Kyle MacLachlan is pretty good as Henry. Like, there's a little bit of sympathy you can have for him. Of course, he did initiate the murder and destruction of Shady Sands, but you make some good points. The fact that people on the surface are going to be locked in perpetual war. He says that Moldaver is the same, but maybe she is the same. I mean, she does want to restore power. Maybe she is totally altruistic. We'll never know because she's dead, as I've mentioned. And the final shot of the episode is him heading to the ruins, the remnants of the Vault-Tec headquarters. I've kind of gotten a glimpse of opinions from diehard fans. Maybe they're a bit harder on the show than I would be. Again, I haven't played any of the games, and honestly, I don't intend to, but I've enjoyed this show. I've enjoyed learning more about this universe. And I think it definitely continues the recent trend of video game adaptations being pretty good. I will definitely follow season 2. I don't know when that will come out. I would imagine maybe, hopefully next year. From what I understand, the events of the show are considered canon. It adds to the existing lore, so will future games involve the events of this show? Kind of ends on a hopeful note, the fact that Shady Sand having that infinite energy that Moldaver had researched during her career in the before times, and Hank, to his credit, he activated it. He unlocked it at the behest of Lucy. Pretty big turning point if you think about it, like an unlimited source of energy that can power a large area. Will the games, I don't know, take that into account? That's quite interesting. How would you rate this show if you have played the games? How would you rate the show if you haven't played any of the games? I'm curious to know.